Hello and welcome to Divorce the First 6 Months. I'm your host, Peter Maestri. Today we have the pleasure of having David Paul. David Paul is not somebody who is just divorced, but he's also a tax accountant. So we're going to get to hear two sides of the story. David has been divorced for about two and a little bit more than 2 years, and he was married for about 43 years. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
As usual, I always start the question with tell us a little bit about your first 6 months. What was that like?
Interesting, little different than most cases because my the first 6 months of my divorce, I was already out of the house. I had moved into an apartment. The house had sold, so the transition had already started to occur because I moved out before the divorce. But needless to say, after 42 years, it was a big transition. I moved from a 2,500 foot home to a 700 foot apartment. So that there was a big transition. I moved 2015 on Thanksgiving Day. So that weekend, Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving Friday, the Sunday, the Saturday, and the Sunday was spent moving. So that I will always remember that 2015 Thanksgiving weekend. So yeah, it was definitely a change. I had prepared myself for it since I knew it was going to occur. So the transition was not traumatic. It was different. It was something I had to relearn a lot of stuff. Uh, just something as basic as going down to the parking lot to pick something out of the car. It's like before I'd go down the drive, pull something out of the car. Now it was literally a 10-minute haul, 5 minutes to and 5 minutes from. So little things like that were definitely changes. Grocery shopping, going up 2 flights, that was changing. The one thing I fortunately did not have, which a lot of people have, is the financial stress. Being a tax accountant, having worked in finances for 45 years,
Mhm.
I had prepared myself. I knew where the pitfalls were. And so I think I would have to say personally, that took about 60 to 75% of the load away. Just the finances, knowing that I could make rent, I had a job, I could live for at least a year or two without any kind of financial stress. That was a big, big issue. And a lot of times I've talked to, I think right now I have at least four, maybe five clients that are in the middle of a divorce right now. And that is the big issue.
So, what are some of the things that you can advise people to plan for or to consider or to be mindful of when you're going into a divorce on the tax side?
Um, another advantage I had was no kids. My kids had grown and gone. My son's 36, 37. My daughter's 42. So, 5 years ago, they were 30 and 35, 37, something like that. The five people I'm talking about right now all have minor kids. That is a big issue. Having gone through the court system and sitting in the courthouse, 90% of the people I saw on the court in court had to do with situations with kids. That is always a big, big issue because who gets custody, child support, alimony, the laws in the alimony situation changed a couple of years ago. Um, so that is that's something that you really, really need to know up front because get yourself, they always say get a good attorney, but yeah, get yourself a good attorney and also talk to your tax person because again the finances are paramount in any kind of a divorce because when you have kids, especially when you have minor kids, who pays what, how is that handled, is the money coming in on an ongoing basis periodically. I have unfortunately clients a client who is in the process of having a problem with the IRS or the state because he hasn't paid his child support. The wife, his ex-wife, is suffering. So those are the things you need to be up front, first and foremost, especially a mother that does not work, stay-at-home mom, a homemaker, divorce. She doesn't have a job, does not have the ability to make money. She's completely dependent on the ex, especially if there's a kid, child support and alimony. Who pays the rent? How is that rent handled? And especially a mom that does not necessarily have skills that will work in today's workplace, where it's, first of all, very hard to get a job. And second of all, if you do get a job, who takes care of the kid? Are you going to make enough money to keep the kid in daycare? Or is it better for you to stay at home? Well, if you stay at home, is the money coming in? Or are you going to have a deadbeat dad? And that's the problem. Once that's straightened out, the rest of the stuff kind of falls into place, because now you have a place to stay. You got food. You can take care of the kid. Or if you're in a position where you can go out and get even a part-time job, then that will help with finances. So to me personally, again, maybe I'm biased in my thinking being a tax accountant, finances are of paramount importance. Once you've got that straightened out, then the custody, who sees what every other week, that can fall into place. But if you don't have the money in place, nothing's happening. And so that's why I say prepare yourself, get yourself an attorney that understands numbers. And I say that in all seriousness. Get yourself an attorney that knows how, because a lot of times they'll have to get someone else to help them out with the numbers. They're great family law attorneys, but a lot of times they don't know numbers. So if you have an attorney that's very good but is not skilled in numbers, talk to your accountant. Talk to your tax accountant. A lot of times too, I see that with women that are at home, stay-at-home moms. They really have no idea how much money they're making. The husband takes care of the finances. He does the taxes. And I have one right now. Actually, right now, she has no idea. She's in the middle of a divorce, and she has absolutely no idea where the money comes and goes. And she's got a kid.
So
They
if
got
for her,
a 6-year-old kid.
what would you advise her to do then? How does she gather the information?
He talks to me.
He talks to you.
Talk to her tax accountant.
Yeah.
Because remember, they're filing now. Unfortunately, in this situation, the accountant was the husband's accountant. She reached out to a friend who happened to be my client, who referred her to me on a consulting basis. I explained to her exactly what needed to be done. In this particular situation, unfortunately, she had a lot of money come to her, but she signed some docs that allowed the husband to pick up on a lot of royalties. I helped her reverse that. All the royalties are now coming to her, which means now she has income stream, but she did not know that until she's talked to me. Not because I'm anything special, but I know numbers. So reach out to a friend whose accountant might be able to help her on a consulting basis. And she is ecstatic right now because now she's got money coming in. And because she was worried, I'm out on the street and I don't have money. And my ex is going to give me a hard time about giving me money. Now she's comfortable.
So
now she can get a place to stay with the kid.
What are some of the things that because when you're going through a divorce, your mind is everywhere,
messed
but
up.
Exactly. You're messed up. So what are some of the things that you would advise for them to look for or to gather before they have a conversation with someone like you?
And I always tell people, and I've been in business 40 years, 45 years, 50, I've been working 50 years. Start logging. Log from day one. If you sense a split occurring, start logging things in, because those logs will help jog your memory later on. If, for instance, you're given, and certain depends on the way the family is run. I'm using the husband just generically. Okay, husband and wife makes it easier. Um, he says, okay, here's a couple of $100 a week for groceries. You take care of the groceries and you get $200 a week. Here's another $100 for you to go out with your friends for coffee, let's say. Okay. And so that's it. You're getting $300 a week, or let's say $500 a week. You get $2,000 a month. That's your budget. You go over, your problem.
Mm-hmm.
You save, good. That's your money to keep. So let's say you're starting to get into a divorce situation. Now you're going to need some extra money for incidentals. Maybe you got to talk to an attorney. Maybe you got to talk to someone. And you say, hey, can I have a few bucks more? Nope, there's no money to be had. Wait a minute. You've been working 30 years. You don't have any extra money? No, I don't, because everything I have is being used for mortgage, etc. Let me see your paycheck. Those are the things you got, because you're filing a joint return, you're signing off on a joint return. You should know exactly what's coming in. I'm using this lady that I'm talking about as an example.
Mm-hmm.
She was making a lot of money on royalties, had no idea the money was going to him, because she signed a document many years ago that allowed the ASCAP funds to go to him. And that's what you need to know. You start logging things in, log in responses. And I've had to do this on occasions, because again, I was in real estate, et cetera, for 30 years. And, there are issues, sometimes that arise. Logs always help. So log in. The guy, he said, no, you're not going to get more. Or here's $200 more, but this is a one-time deal. You're not getting anything more. I'm going to give you this only. Those are the things you got to keep in mind. You start logging things, talking to people, getting yourself set up so when the transition does occur, you're prepared. I have seen situations where all of a sudden they got a knock on the door. You've been served. You need to be out of the house in 6 months. Now you got a problem. So you have to sense things, and things will generally show themselves as time goes on. You will notice a change, whatever it might be: staying late, coming home next day, working late, you having to take care of the kids more, picking up the kids, doing stuff like that. So you will see subtle changes. I saw changes in my case when my ex decided to take early retirement, which meant she stayed home more and I was working all day. And the split started to occur 5 years before the actual divorce process started. So for 5 years, it became a gradual progression towards divorce. So sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's a surprise, but generally there are signs in a marriage that will show that, things are not the way they were when we first got married. Maybe a kid comes along and all of a sudden more attention is going towards the kid, and you don't see the changes that are occurring because your focus is on the kid, only on the kid, but there are changes occurring that you're not aware of, and all of a sudden you get served. And man, I didn't know this was going to happen. And that I've seen as well too.
That's a wrap on another episode of Divorce the First 6 Months. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more insights. Take care.